Some big tackles, some choice words from the sideline, some difficult moments, and a big red card decision. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Whistle. My name's Eric, I'm a level 5 referee here in England. Today, I am refereeing Tewkesbury Town versus Henbury and Rockleys. I've refereed Tewkesbury Town once before last season when they were in the Gloucestershire Northern Senior League, but they've actually been promoted to the Gloucestershire County League, so that's the league that we're refereeing in today. So yeah, I will see you guys at the ground, and I hope you enjoy the video. It is blowing an absolute gale today, so there are a few things we're thinking about. Go one of two ways, right? Either they won't want to deal with the wind, so teams are going to play on the floor as much as possible, or they're going to try and take advantage of the chaos and play long. Looking at the state of the pitch, we've had a lot of rain recently. My guess is going to be there's a lot of long balls today. So if that's the case, what am I thinking pre-match to make sure I can deal with that? I'll probably look to take more of an advanced position. Okay, the ball's going to move a lot quicker than I can, so if I can be proactive in my positioning and get forward before those long balls are played, then I can be in those good positions in what people call like the drop zone. So when that ball's coming in, the challenge between the striker and the defender, can we get a good view on that rather than being chasing play? So that's pretty much what I'm thinking. Fingers crossed it all goes well and that the camera doesn't fall down because it is blowing an absolute gale. So let's jump into the review. You'll have noticed there was no post-match. There's a reason for that. One is I had my mentor come to watch the game, and so he came into the changing room directly after. We kind of debriefed on the game. Secondly, my emotions were not quite level enough to pull out the camera. It's not that I don't want my authentic reaction to be on camera. It's the fact that I knew in myself that I would likely say something that was not relevant, or that would maybe get me in a bit of trouble, or that was maybe not necessarily true. So I thought best to leave it and we can break it down with a clear mind in the review here. So that's what we are going to do. It was a very, very tough game. There was one goal in it between the two teams and we had to give out 7 cards, including a red. So a lot to cover. So let's just jump straight into it and we'll kind of go through the match together. So at the level I referee at, which is county level, as a level 5 referee, you start every game with this respect handshake. This is the first league that I've refereed at that does this. And so you'll shake the team of one hand, turn around, and then shake the hands of the other team. What happened after this was these two players here asked if they could swap shirts because the number 9 and the number 10, the shirt was too tight for the number 9, and so they're asking if they could swap shirts. I had no idea if you could or you couldn't. My gut was no, but I wasn't really sure. And for the sake of the faff, I thought, yes, I will just let them swap numbers, even though on the team sheets there are numbers already there. So let's have a look and see what the law says about it. So I'm looking through the laws and I can't find in law where it says anywhere that a player must match the number that's on the team sheet. All it says is that the compulsory equipment of a player comprises the following separate items. 1, a shirt with sleeves, which we obviously have. Just because it's not in the laws of the game doesn't mean that that's not the rules for the competition. So I can't find anything that says that players can't change their kit, but common sense tells me that they probably shouldn't be able to, but then common sense also says at this level you take their names anyway when issuing a caution, so what's the problem? I don't know if I was supposed to do this or not. Honestly, I have no idea. Someone let me know in the comments if you know about the competition rules for the FA, specifically the Gloucestershire County League, if players can wear a different number to what is on the team sheet. Now, once we kick off, we notice that the team in blue are heavily lined up on one side of the pitch. So we can see these 3 players here are ready and set up to attack, right? So as that ball is played, I'm anticipating that these 3 players are going to attack like this. Because of this, I line up exactly where I am with the idea of kind of just working my way into this area here, and that way I'll have a clear vision on the challenge between these players and the yellow team when that ball goes in the air. They actually end up playing it backwards, but just before he goes to release it, we notice, and so we spin and we get forward. As these players are challenging, it means that we have a direct angle on what is about to happen here, and we're right on top of it as soon as play starts. So take note of where people are setting up from kickoff, and that way you can be proactive on that first phase of play in the game to make a decision if something is needed. And then just 5 minutes into the first half, we have to give a yellow card. So you'll see that 5 plays the ball back to the goalkeeper and he tells him to play out the other way. He can't, and so he plays it back to the number 5, who is now immediately under a lot of pressure, right? For those of you that will have maybe not have played football much, you may referee and not have played football, and for those of you that may not have played at a higher level, it can be really difficult to identify when there is a potential flashpoint, right? Because it's hard if you've not played or not studied the game to understand the, I guess, the wider context of play that's happening rather than just the situation that happens between 2 players as like a tackle. 5 has got his back to play, right? He's even angled slightly towards the touchline, and these 3 players are most likely going to swarm him so that he has to play the ball back to the goalkeeper or simply just try and boot it long. The only pass he's really got an option of playing is trying to bend it into here to the centre back. But again, if that blue player decides to come into here and try and stop that, then his only option is to go back to the keeper, and he's in a world of trouble. So because of that, we recognise there could be a foul. So then as he receives the ball, he takes a poor touch and ends up committing this foul here. We're walking over, deciding on whether we're going to issue a yellow card or not, and I decide that I do. I don't really have a choice. Now, you'd be thinking, why is this a yellow card? There's not really much force in the tackle. There doesn't seem to be much wrong with that. And you'll even hear the benches saying a similar thing.
Not that early, it's only 1. Ref, really? Ref, it's only 1.
Right, because it's so early in the game, it's 5 minutes in, you think, well, why would you give a yellow card for a tackle like that? In my opinion, this is a very clear, promising attack, and that is why I've issued a yellow card. You've got 1 yellow player there, and you've got the goalkeeper who is sprinting back to retreat to his goal because he's not going to make the ball. And then what do we have? 3 blue players that would be attacking that ball versus this 1 yellow defender. This is what in football you'd call an overload. And what an overload means is there are more attackers than defenders. So that might be what's called a 2v1, a 3v2, a 3v1, things like this. So this is a clear situation where there's an overload, and this gives you a massive, massive advantage as an attacking team. And so that's why I've issued a yellow card. The code in England, we don't have SPAR as a code. It will just go under C1 foul tackle. But in other countries like the USA, this would go down as SPAR. I then chalk off a goal for handball. So as that ball gets played in, it ricochets off the defender and then comes back to the forward. You'll see from the camera, it's really, really, I would say, inconclusive on whether this is an offence or not. Reason being is the first contact of this ball is here, right? It's on his chest. The first point of contact to the ball is on his chest. Where I thought it was handball is what follows. Okay, so as that ball travels up, you'll see that for me, it looks like he brings his arm down to the ball and clips the ball. So that's why I thought it was handball. The reason I didn't blow straight away is because I'm giving myself time to think, and I'm thinking, if he doesn't score, it doesn't really matter. But if he slots it in the net, I can disallow the goal because you can't score after the ball hits your arm, even if it's accidental. It feels like we cover this almost every week, but we'll cover it again as it's slightly different. It is an offence if a player deliberately touches the ball with their hand or arm, for example, moving the hand or arm towards the ball, touches the ball with their hand or arm when it's made their body unnaturally bigger, and you're considered to have made your body unnaturally bigger when the position of your hand or arm is not really a consequence or justifiable by your movement you're making at the time. And then the other part of law for handball is you cannot score in the opponent's goal directly from your hand or arm. Okay, so if it hits your arm or hand, even if it's accidental, you cannot score. And then equally, immediately after the ball has touched your hand or arm, even if accidental. In my opinion, real time, I thought it had hit his arm after it hit his chest. And so for me, that would not have been handball per se, because it came off his body first. However, it does look like he may have made a motion towards the ball. And then, yes, obviously you can't score immediately after. So that's why I've chalked it off. You'll see him say that it's hit his chest. And while I don't disagree, I thought it hit his arm after it hit his chest. But granted, very, very difficult to tell when the camera's this far away, but that's what I saw in real time. And so that's why I gave it. Now, is my position perfect? No. No, absolutely, absolutely not. You'll see where I am here, and I'm kind of looking, again, I'm relatively straight on to what is happening. The difficulty you have in a situation like this is with the focus on sweeping play, I wouldn't really want to be moving into like this area here to have an angle on it, because this really isn't a great spot to be refereeing from. It's a real kind of high risk zone to be stood. The ball can come and ping out to here at any time. And so I don't really want to be in this place. And even if I was round here somewhere a bit further in, like I'm well congested in play and I wouldn't really have an angle on what's happening. So I'm not really sure where I could have been here. Maybe around here is the place, maybe I'm just wrong, but let me know what you guys think. Where could I have been here that would give me a better view on what was happening? Very shortly after that, the blue team have an opportunity to go 1-0 up.
How has he got... He's fucking shit!
And then we see something in the game that we have to make a little mental note of. So this player's been fouled and we stopped play to check on him for an injury. Now, as this tackle comes in, you'll see the player makes the foul and then he sweeps his leg round after he's made the tackle. So he makes the foul, sweeps his leg up and commits what I thought in the moment was a fair tackle. However, the way he's swept his leg round afterwards, it was a mental note of, okay, just be watching that, because it can sometimes be a little bit nasty when you're tackling and then making a second movement after the ball is gone to commit a foul. This player wasn't actually injured from the tackle, he just hit his face on the floor, and so we let the physio know that he doesn't need treatment. Then just a minute later, that same player that committed that foul does this. So again, nothing major. However, his actions after making the tackle are not natural. So he slides in, wins the ball, and then lifts his foot up to try and trip the lad after he's played the ball. Nobody really made a fuss of it, so I didn't say anything again. However, again, I was making a mental note, just watch this player because something may happen afterwards. 2 minutes later, we get a red card. My first ever red card for serious foul play. So let's break the tackle down and I'll explain why I've given a red card. When looking for serious foul play, there are a few considerations that I'm thinking of that I want to highlight before we watch this back. One of them is the location of contact. Okay, so can it be serious foul play if contact is on the head? Yes. Can it be serious foul play if the contact is on the foot? Yes. However, depending on where the contact is on the body, the threshold for other things lowers, right? So contact on the head, I'm also taking into account the amount of force that's used in the tackle. But if contact's on the head, that threshold for force is way, way lower. Whereas if contact is on the foot, the threshold for force will be slightly higher. So it's not a perfect science. Obviously, as referees, we're making a judgment call on a split-second decision that we see in real time, and so that's what I've done. But considerations really are speed and force of the challenge, the location of contact, how their own body and foot is positioned, ground conditions, temperature of the game. There are all sorts of things that we're taking into account when we see a tackle. Now, I want to be really careful not to slow things down, because ultimately everything looks worse in slow motion when we talk about tackles, but I am just going to highlight the point of contact that I saw after the lad had played the ball. He plays the ball, and then as he's sliding through, he makes contact with the leg about here. That's where the number 11's foot moves, so that's probably where contact was. As you can see, the point of contact is really high okay? It's high up on the shin, just below the knee, and he's already cleared the ball. For me, this is serious foul play. I think this endangers the safety of the opponent. I don't think there's any reason for his foot to be there after he clears the ball. For me, a natural movement of when he clears the ball is for his foot to go sideways, not for his foot to be lifted upwards. Usually when you slide and kick the ball, your foot would come round, it would really go up. It's a really dangerous movement, and you'll see that as soon as he makes the tackle, he's instantly onto the player. He knows that the tackle is not good, and you'll hear the scream from the lad who's on the other end of it as well. By the time I'd blown the whistle, I'd already decided it was a red card. It was very, very clear to me. And then you'll hear the shouts from the sidelines. They're obviously really upset with the tackle as well. For me, it's a clear red card. Yeah, and serious foul play. As you can see, not all of the players believe it, and there's a bit of crowding, and really my process of dealing with this was not great. I anticipated from the tackle that there'd be a lot more uproar on the pitch than there was, and I think that's because as the lads played the ball away, obviously everybody's focused on that. They're not expecting the type of tackle that's just gone in, and so a lot of them probably haven't even seen it. So I pulled out the red card quickly because I thought I'm gonna have to diffuse this. I think it's a red, show it, it'll diffuse the situation. However, it just causes a lot of crowding around the lad. What I should have done is blown the whistle, called the physio on straight away because I know that he may need treatment, then isolate the player and issue the red card after that. My process is not great, but believe it or not, in over 150 games that I've refereed, this is my first ever red card for serious foul play. I've only ever had red cards for DOGSO, for violent conduct, and for second cautions, foul and abusive language. Most of them, to be honest, other than serious foul play. Following the free kick that led from that tackle, the team in yellow have an opportunity to go 1-0 up. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is half time. Interesting first half, right? We've disallowed a goal for the team in blue for handball, and then we've had to issue a red card to the team in blue for serious foul play. As you can imagine, they were not happy. The manager was talking to me as I went back into the changing room at half time, telling me that I'd got 2 major decisions wrong. And then the player that had been sent off even came to my changing room to ask questions about the card. And then again, after the full-time whistle as well, actually. So a little bit hostile, not particularly enjoyable, but unfortunately that's just part of football. You're the only person on the pitch that is impartial to those decisions, right? The team in yellow obviously think it's a red card because it'd be in their benefit, and the team in blue aren't going to think it's a red card because they don't want it to be, because it's going to massively impact them. Same with the handball decision. And so, of course, the manager thinks I've made 2 incorrect decisions. The fact is, I don't think I have, and I'll let you guys obviously tell me in the comments if I have. You guys are very honest, which I appreciate. But yeah, that was half time. It was a little bit hairy, but we get back out for the second half and we have a relatively quiet first 15 minutes actually. And then we get this foul where we have to issue a yellow card. So as that ball comes in, the lads jump in to block, turns his back and just kind of clips the player that's cleared the ball with his foot. There's no real malice in this, but again, the moment you leave the floor to challenge anybody, you really lose quite a bit of control of your body, right? You can't slow down your momentum. You're in the air, you're going at the speed you're going, and you cannot change that once you leave the ground. He's also flicked his foot up to try to obviously block it and like protect himself, but then as he's done that, he's just kind of grazed across this player in blue with the bottom of his boot. He's caught him right at the top of his leg, maybe even on his hip. It was hard to tell from the angle I was stood at. For me, this is reckless play, and so this will go down as, yeah, C1 reckless play. Just a minute after that, the team in yellow go 1-0 up. So you'll hear shouts from the sideline asking for a push. As that ball's played over, this player here is the one that's going to go through on goal and score. So as he's running through, there's a couple of taps on the blue player, but again, this is not enough for me to consider a push in the back, for it to really impact the defender. For me, there's just not enough contact there to be a foul, and I think it's a soft shout personally. About 12 minutes after that, we get another yellow card. So as that ball gets played in, obviously the yellow forward is chasing after it, and there's going to be a 50-50 between him and the keeper. The goalkeeper gets there first, and then the yellow player runs into him and catches him at the top of his shin, kind of on his knee. Now, the blue players were asking me during and after the game, what's the difference? What's the difference? What's the difference? The contact's same place. These tackles are so far removed from each other. When you have a situation like this, right, the yellow player is kind of running and he's trying to slow down, and he kind of just runs his foot into the goalkeeper's knee, okay? There are no studs showing, kicks him with the top of his boot as he's running. It's, yeah, nowhere near as dangerous as the tackle in the first half. It's not to say that it's not a reckless tackle, because it is a reckless tackle, but it doesn't meet the criteria of serious foul play for me. And again, we'll watch it in real speed. Yeah, for me, this is just, it's just a little bit naughty, little bit late. He probably could have avoided it, but it does not meet the threshold for a red card. So this is simply just a yellow card for reckless play. So the team in blue at this point were really getting on me, right? They were really getting on me, making lots of little comments, different players chiming in, obviously very unhappy with how I was refereeing the game. And then we get this outburst from the captain. So these two players are tussling, kind of holding each other. For me, they're both doing it, so we wave it away. And then as the keeper gets the ball, you'll hear the captain shout, "Ref, watch the game, will you?" At the top of his lungs. This is such a clear act of dissent. And so we pull him in and we show him a yellow card for dissent. And so he will have to go off for a 10-minute sin bin. As he's walking away, he carries on making comments and we tell him to leave. And then he turns around and has one more pop. Yeah, and we tell him to leave again. To be honest, again, you'd be within your rights to show a second yellow here if people keep chiming on at you after you've sent them for a sin bin. For me, he's already on his way out. He's already frustrated. I'll just let him get out of his system and go. But a clear act of dissent on the pitch like that, I just will not tolerate. It's just absolutely no need for it. And so unfortunately, the team in blue then obviously have to go down to 9 men. We then miss this foul out on the touchline because we're too far away. I actually thought the ball was already out of play when the player in blue pushed him. Then the yellow coach shouts at us, and so we have to issue him a yellow card for dissent as well.
Fuck me! Ref, you can't just push him in the middle of the fucking bag! Ref, what are you watching?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is full time, but it's not the end. We have to issue another card after the full-time whistle. Everybody comes in and we start doing handshakes. Not everybody from the blue team came to shake my hand, which is a shame. I think regardless of how a game goes, I always used to shake the officials' hands just as a matter of courtesy, but you know, each to their own. So we shake hands and then the blue manager comes over to talk to us and chat about the decisions. He's basically saying that he's disappointed and how can he appeal a red card? Can I send him the footage, etc, etc. And I told him, yeah, absolutely, I can send it, it's not a problem. And then he tells me to be open-minded when I watch the footage back, which I hope you guys will see that I have been. So I explained to him that of course I'll be open-minded, I'll send it over, but I'm certain of what I've seen in the moment. Then what happens is one of the players from the blue team comes over and offers to shake my hand. Says, "Cheers, ref." I say thank you, and then he fakes it, turns around and moves. I tell him to stop and he ignores me, and thankfully the coach calls his name, so I knew who he was. So I show him the yellow card. I didn't need to get his number because I knew his name. That obviously antagonizes the manager more. He's very upset, and so he said he doesn't want to talk to me anymore. Then as I'm walking back, this is the player that got sent off, comes to talk to me and asks me about those 2 yellow cards that I gave to yellow. Obviously he says the one over on the edge of the box, what's the difference? He's got studs up, he catches him in the hip, that should be a red card. And then equally the one back on the other edge of the box, he catches the goalkeeper above his knee, so that should be a red card as well. And I'm explaining to him obviously that's just not the case, and the force that he went into his tackle with was very, very different. I would suggest to not do what I do. I would suggest that if anybody ever wants to talk to you about a decision, you tell them that you can do it in private in the change rooms afterwards and not publicly out on the pitch. And if you don't want to talk to them about decisions, you are completely within your rights to tell them, hey, I don't feel comfortable talking about it, or I don't want to talk to you about it. I've seen what I've seen. That's all I can give. It's not going to be helpful. Yeah, that's completely up to you. But I should have probably just nipped it in the bud. I shouldn't have engaged in the conversations, but I did because I was trying to explain why I've made the decisions I've made, but ultimately they were never going to agree. They believe that I made two key decisions that were wrong, which cost them the game. And so, yeah, it's a losing battle. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this week's video. First ever red card for serious foul play. Crazy. If you want to watch last week's video, it's right here, and I even got observed on it, and we're getting observed again next week. So thank you so much for the support, and I'll see you guys next week.